Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Minnesota Mike back with you for another video. This is another blog entry and vlog entry, technically, for the blog and vlog that I'm doing on behalf of the Memphis Songwriters Association. So this is the vlog. The blog itself can be found on our website, memphissongwriters.org, and you can find that there. I already have one blog about you don't have to write a hit to write a hit, and talking all about that. But this blog is going to take it in a little bit of a different direction, talk about songs that may have been hits, but this one is focused specifically on character development. And the idea still is you don't have to write a hit to write a hit. Because although I would certainly like you to hit number one, that would be awesome, it might not happen. And that doesn't mean that your song isn't good. It just means that, hey, it's an exposure problem, right? Or, an opportunity problem. And there are certain things that you can do, that you can follow to still write a very compelling song. And who knows, it might fall into the right hands. But, regardless, the right people are going to hear it if you follow some of these tips. So what I'm going to focus on today is character development, and there are actually 4 tips that I have for you in terms of how to create a compelling character in the song that you write. And I'm going to do 2 videos. One is going to be about the main character in your song being pretty close to who you are as a person. So everything is true in the song. Whatever happened to that main character also happened to you, minus, maybe a couple of creative liberties that you take. So then also now available is where you are the main character and you're taking on another persona within the song. So we're going to talk about that as well in a separate video. And then next week, I'll have 2 more for you. And that's where you completely make up the main character and nothing's true. And then the other one is where you make up details about the character, about an existing character, maybe from a piece of literature, a movie, something along those lines. So those are the 4 main character developments, at least that I'm going to focus on. And in this video, like I said, we're going to focus on where you are the main character and everything is true, minus obviously, those certain creative liberties. So when I was thinking about this and, this popped into my head where you are the main character, everything is true, there were a couple of songs that popped into my head, and one of them I will talk about, a little bit later in a different blog because it fit pretty well with, something else. But for now, we're going to chat about Every Rose Has Its Thorn because this was the first one that I thought of when I thought about you being the main character and everything is true within the song. So Every Rose Has Its Thorn. Let's dive in. So this particular song was inspired by a phone call that Bret Michaels, the lead singer of Poison, made from a laundromat. Now, the laundromat isn't crucial to the story, but I think it's a really fun fact that the song was written in a laundromat. But he was calling his girlfriend at the time from a laundromat, from outside a laundromat. And he was trying to reach her, but instead another man picked up, and he was obviously devastated. And so he went into the laundromat and wrote the song, what became Every Rose Has Its Thorn. Now, the interesting thing about this, even though it was definitely a massive success, the thing about this particular song is that, it didn't sound like a Poison song. The record label said, yeah, this is great, but actually said this isn't a Poison song. And Bret Michaels, before George Costanza was even, in existence, pulled a Costanza and said, I'm not going to compromise my artistic integrity. And unlike George Costanza, Bret Michaels was an artist and did have art integrity, still does, as far as I know. So he said, no, this is the song. We're not changing the song. And, credit to him. Probably helped that he had already had a hit or two with Poison, but, that's just one of those things. He stood his ground, and it turned out to be just an incredible hit. But what makes it work? Other than the fact that obviously it's very true to who he was, it was very raw. That's the big thing that makes it work. But everything, kind of theory wise, I'm going to break down in just a second. So, melodically, this song uses the same chords as Can't You See by the Marshall Tucker Band and really expresses the same amount of urgency about that failed relationship. It's a gentle song for a heavy topic. And, like I said, it didn't sound like a Poison song, but, to paraphrase the great comedian Mitch Hedberg, any song is a Poison song if it's sung by Poison. So that's kind of what they were going for there. It just needed to be told. And that's what I would encourage you guys to do. Whatever story needs to be told, if it's on your mind, it's worth writing about. So, lyrically, the lyrics are very poetic, very visual, and that very nearly makes up for using the phrase cuts me like a knife in the third verse. Apart from that, the third verse is actually my favorite, and we'll break that down in a little bit. So you can feel every bit of the relationships and just coming crashing down on this guy's daily life. You have in the first verse of we both fell silently still in the dead of the night, although we both lie close together, we feel miles apart inside. And that just gives a really good visual. Now, with the backstory of, what actually happened, what inspired the song, that's one of the creative liberties because they kind of fell out actually literally miles apart. That's just one of those things. But he uses that metaphor of lying together. One of them only was lying, and that was her. But that's a pun for another time. So there's that in the first verse. In the second verse, he talks about listening to their favorite song on the radio, right? And the DJ comes in and kind of talks about it, and he kind of says, man, I wish the DJ was knew where I was at tonight mentally, because just not feeling it, hearing our song after we fell out. And so that's something I think a lot of people can relate to. So that's very, very visual. The other thing too is actually that the DJ says that love's a game of easy come, easy go. And to hear somebody else say that, then he says, but I wonder, does he know? Has he ever felt like this? Well, I know that you'd be here right now if I could just change your mind somehow. So there's that desperation in there of like, yeah, we fell out. I'm really sad. And even though you're the reason for my pain, you're still the only one that can save me. I think that's a really, really powerful visual. So then in the last verse, like I said, that third verse, except for the cuts me like a knife, it's very, very powerful. And that third verse says, I would have saved our love that night if I had known just what to say, or might be could have. Instead of making love, we both made our separate ways. Now I heard you found somebody new, and that I never meant that much to you. And that last one really just always gets to me, because when I started getting into this song, I had just fallen out with somebody, and I heard it shortly thereafter, and that line just got to me because this person had rejected me and said, like, oh, I'm super busy, whatever. And then about a month later, she was going through a rough time, and I said, oh, what's going on? And one of the things that she said is, the guy I wanted to date rejected me. And I'm like, oh, how'd that feel? I didn't actually say that. In fact, it took me 2 months to call her out on that. Enough about my personal life, but that just kind of shows you how, even years and years and years later, it's still a very, very powerful message and very relatable to anybody going through a breakup. So that's what it is lyrically, and it really, really works because, like I said, it's very visual, and you can just picture that guy's pain, and you might have felt it yourself. So now let's talk about the structure of the song, because the structure is really interesting. And I mean interesting because of my personal preferences. So I'm a huge proponent of putting bridges in songs. Not always, it doesn't always fit, and I recognize that, but I love bridges. They're just really, really cool to me. And typically when I write, I do verse, uh, chorus, bridge, and then chorus, and just keep it at that. Now, sometimes you'll find in other songs, especially country pop songs, they'll do a verse, chorus, bridge, solo, and then an a cappella chorus. So they'll cut out the instrumentals and all of that. And then they'll do a full chorus with a full band, full instrumentation, and do that as well. And that'll come, after the bridge, after the solo, all of that stuff. And to me, that's just weird because you're killing your momentum from, telling the story, ramping up, and then you're ramping down, and then you're ramping back up again. And so that's just one of those things. Personally, I don't like to do that. And I don't even like to put a solo there, right? Because sometimes what it'll do is that'll cut into your momentum of like, oh wait, there was something cool with the story, and then you did a solo, and so I forgot what happened in the bridge, right? But the way that this relates to Every Rose Has Its Thorn, you may be wondering, is their structure is verse, chorus, bridge, solo, verse, and chorus. And so you have in the bridge, the last line is, but that scar remains. And so there's this holding out of that last note. It's really beautiful into this solo, and then it goes down, back down into the I could have saved our love that night if I'd known just what to say. So that's what makes it work structurally, is that it's not what I'm used to. And there's a certain point where it's like, okay, are you trying to surprise me, or are you trying to make a good song? And they kind of did both in that particular one. So you do that, and by going into that last verse, which is the absolute gut punch, the heart wrenching pain of the end of now I heard you found somebody new, that I never meant that much to you. That's just what really gets you. And so, absolutely, that should be the kicker at the end, not just going, chorus, or whatever. So, they definitely got that right. But the main thing in terms of this particular song is that it came from a very real place. So, it's entirely possible to write a hit, write a great song that still came from a very, very emotional place. And that's something that Bret Michaels did. He wasn't creating a character; he was the character. He wasn't, going to an emotion that he knows everybody has and using somebody else as, the person who's having that emotion. He was the one having that emotion, and that's what makes the song so, so powerful when you listen to it. So that's definitely the first tip in terms of character development. So in my next video, you'll be able to see the main character in the song, but this is the songwriter taking on the persona of another character. So yes, they are the main character, but it's not something that really happened to them. And so that's what we're going to focus on in our next video. And I hope you will join me for that. I am Minnesota Mike. Thank you so much for checking me out on this particular video, all my videos. I'm on Instagram and Facebook as well, and then Spotify, iTunes, all the streaming platforms. You can find me there. And make sure you go check out the Memphis Songwriters Association blog. Check that out. I've got a couple on there as well. And then Joe Matthews is doing a blog too, a little more theory based. So you can check that out if you're into that as well. And even if you're not, check it out, and I promise you, you'll get into it. So again, I am Minnesota Mike. Thank you so much.